of Indie Books International. And we're going to get started with our event today about client attraction, chain reaction during the new normal. So we all know about the before times and what we were doing. And then this thing happened for the last year and a half. And we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel. So a lot of the discussion today, and I have 4 people I've invited, Russell and Theresa and Eleni and Patrick, to share some comments. There might be some open forum as we get through it, but I wanted to share intelligence with everybody about what's going on and what we're hearing and what's being done. So Client Attraction Chain Reaction is a book I wrote, and well, I've been called many things, but the one I'm fond of is pragmatic. So this was just a pragmatic look at what do we do to create a chain reaction to bring high-paying clients to us. And you remember in science class that a chain reaction was like a snowball rolling downhill, and it gathered momentum and it gathered more snow. That's a chain reaction. Or a forest fire, sadly, is a chain reaction because it's the burning of wood and oxygen, and it fuels that and it takes off. In the 40s, under the bleachers at the University of Chicago at their football stadium, some scientists first split the atom, and they did it under the bleachers of the football stadium in case anything went wrong, that they would protect people, not knowing if anything had gone wrong, it would have destroyed most of Chicago. That's the chain reaction that led to the atomic bomb and the hydrogen bomb. So those are all chain reactions. Well, in a positive sense, what is this chain reaction that we want to create? And we're going to talk about each one as vis-a-vis how things are changing. So let me just give you what the chain reaction is. You conduct virtual and live small-scale seminars. That's the basic first thing you need to do. You can do them on Zoom. I'm going to do my first in-person one July 30th in Chicago. I'm going back to Chicago. I've rented a room at the Westin that holds 25 people. It's costing me $400. It's my first live marketing with a book and speech summit in a year and a half. We've been doing them on Zoom. This is 3 hours and it's going deep. So I'm looking forward to it. I have indications that people are going to come. You get booked to give how-to speeches to target-rich audiences. So what's happening in the speech world? We know about the virtual, but what's happening live? We'll share some of that. Get published in media read by your target-rich audience. So this is the best and only publicity I recommend. Bylined articles by you that solve problems. The best thing you can be is a columnist. I'm a columnist for Forbes.com. And then you have a body of work. My hobby is screenwriting, and my teachers in Hollywood taught me, they said, here's how you're going to be judged, by your body of work. It's not about one screenplay you do. It's not about the one great work. It's your body of work. It's the same thing in getting published. 4, you want to volunteer to do pro bono work for target-rich groups and associations. So people do business with people they know, like, and trust. They see you in action. How you handle the small volunteer tasks speaks volumes about how you'll handle something bigger. Plus, it builds relationships, and relationships is the secret sauce to all this. You want to network at these target-rich environments? We've had to scramble on new ways to network in the last year. People are longing and hungering for the good old-fashioned networking. That's coming back in 2022. You got to get your internet game plan going, and that's YouTube videos. And that is something we really upped our game in this last year, and we really recommend people do more. We'll talk more about that. And then 7, conduct paid workshops for target-rich audiences where people actually pay money. Now, there was a pivot during the last year on this, and I'll talk about some of the pivot. And I see in 2022, this coming back with live people in an audience that will pay money to be with you, and the power of that. So those are the things we're going to talk about. I'm going to go in reverse order. Conducting paid workshops using your proprietary research. Every author is really a proprietary researcher. You're researching your subject matter, and you should continue to do that. And you continue to release your results through your writings, and you continue to do research with your target-rich audience, even just the people who attend, asking them questions, doing surveys, doing secondary research, everything everybody else writes that has some number attached to it. In academia, we used to say, if you steal from one person, it's plagiarism and you will be fired. However, if you steal from many people and cite sources, it's called research and you'll be granted tenure. I just heard a rumor that my son-in-law got tenure at an Ivy League university, so good for him. I'm going to see him this week. Congratulate him. So doing these studies about the workshops, people took them online. Mark LeBlanc, the chairman of Indie Books, the author of Growing Your Business, and we've written several books together. He started doing something called the Table of 12, where he invited people who were past clients, people who were current clients, and charged $365 to spend 3 hours on business development. And that's been going very well for him. He was doing, I think he's done 150 weekend retreats called the Achiever Circles. He took those online and filled them. So people paid him for that. You don't have to do free events. People will pay you. Now, Mark's philosophy is this absolutely eliminated his expenses for holding these events, and he doesn't see a reason to go live with them in the future. I don't know when. I think his first live event is planned for November of 2022 in La Jolla. But he'll be with me. Actually, we're both putting on the Indie Family and Friends Forum in La Jolla, March 4 and 5. And a lot of the people who, and Eleni, I'm going to turn the talking stick to you in just a second here to tell people about your work and also what you're seeing happening in the speaking world, because you work with so many speakers about actually getting in and putting on events. And also, if you wanted to comment on the second thing, getting booked as a speaker, that'd be great. So Eleni Kelakos, would you introduce yourself and then share a little?
Thank you, Henry. Of course, I'm delighted to be here. Hi, everybody. I'm Eleni Kelakos. I am the author of 2 books, Touch the Sky and Claim the Stage, a woman's guide to speaking up, standing out, and taking leadership. And I work with executives, and particularly women, love working with women, who want to increase their leadership presence and speak with greater confidence. As a professional speaker myself, I conduct trainings and presentations for business leaders who want to perform at their peak when eyeballs are on them and the stakes are high. In fact, the tools that I use to help people claim the stage with greater impact are the very same tools that I learned and used over 2 decades on countless stages as a professional actress in New York and LA, and also as a touring and recording singer and songwriter. As a result of working with me and my coaching and training, people are more confident, they're more present, and they're less afraid when they share their big idea or sell their services. On a personal note, I sang the national anthem at Shea Stadium in front of 34,000 people and forgot the words. That's what I did. So when I hung up my shingle as a presence and presentation coach in 2003, I can't believe that it's been this long. Never in a million years, if you had paid me $1 million, would I have thought that I could teach presentation skills online. Seriously, I'm a live event person. I am an actress. I am a performer. I like people in the room with me. So that was part of it. But at the time, we really didn't have the technology. And so fast forward, we're on the cusp of 2019 and the pandemic. And interestingly enough, Skype has been born and Zoom has been born. And you know, I had been asked during the years preceding that to start to give presentations online. And the clients that I was working with started asking me to help them give presentations, both live and online. But the latter was very rare, very rare. I still was mostly dealing with helping people give and book live presentations. And I would say that my clientele, I would say that I was really, though I was working with people across the country and a little bit internationally via Zoom and a little bit a little bit with Skype, you know, honestly, I would say it was about maybe 3/4 of my clientele was live still. And then the pandemic happened. And I immediately thought, well, I'm toast. And then I also thought, well, the clients that are going to work, that are working with me essentially, or would reach out to work with me, they're going to be toast too, because they're presenters as well, right? But the weirdest thing happened. I kept working. First of all, I realized I needed to pivot instantly, which I did. I thought, you know, I got to get almost everything I do online. Everything I do, even though it feels weird. I got to start to think like a virtual human. And then it made me think, okay, I'm learning those skill sets. I want to get really good at Zoom. I have clients who are calling me and they're going, can you help me get better with my online presence and presentations? And I thought, well, shoot, I better put together a presentation on presenting virtually. Basically, I was like one big toe ahead of my clients. And I thought, oh, I can teach them what I'm learning. And so that was the first big pivot that I made. And it was in tandem with what was going on with them. They had to do that too. Now, in conjunction with that, during the pandemic, people started reaching out to me to do even more internal coaching work, leadership skills training. A lot of women seem to have time and started to think about their development as a leader. So it happens that I've got my Claim the Stage book, Almost Born, coming out in about 2 months. And I was in the process of writing this, and I found myself pivoting to doing probably a good half of my coaching became about working with women primarily on their leadership skills, on using my Claim the Stage programming. And the other half was straight on presentations, just helping people virtualize their presentations. And periodically someone would reach out and say, can you give a presentation? Which of course I said, yes, of course. And I found myself doing them and liking them to a degree and helping myself get better at them as well. So my mix seemed to be similar to the mix of my clients. They were doing most everything online, and they were also speaking online, right? They were conducting Zoom meetings. So about halfway through after the pandemic started, maybe 6 months in, I turned to my husband, who had lost his entire book of business as someone who books artists, musical artists, and was really struggling. And I said, I think my numbers are the same now as they were last year. Mostly because I had pivoted. And not only had I pivoted, but my clients had pivoted too. And that was the key for me. And now, right now, I'm pretty much, I would say 100% still working virtually. I am just now starting to be asked to present live. In fact, a client that I've been working with for several years, with whom I have a contract, just called me this morning to talk to me about booking me to speak in California and in Arizona and in New York in late 2020. But I know that not only am I going to continue to be working online, I have increased my reach. I have clients all over the world now as a result. But my clients have done the same. They found that too. So I think that I have had a very similar experience as the clients that I've worked with. And it's been a really wild and fun ride.
Eleni, thank you so much. I want to, it's like the magician talking about how tricks are done right now. So we're going to go a little meta. Thank you, everyone. That was a demonstration of an impromptu 5-minute talk. I produce events, and I invited somebody once to give a 20-minute talk, which would have been great for their business. And they said, oh no, I need 90 minutes. If I don't have 90 minutes, I can't get a message across. Okay, that's the wrong answer. And I recommend, we were talking about paid workshops. Eleni has a $597 Rock Your Short Talk workshop. It's followed up by a 90-minute pinpoint one-on-one with her. Mark LeBlanc and I found that to be extremely useful, and we've been studying this for 20, 30 years. So one of the takeaways I also have is I'm invited to speak for 5 minutes a lot more these days. The attention span is shorter and the opportunities are there, but they're more condensed. The audience wants more variety, so that works in our favor. What Eleni just did is called a showcase in our terminology. She showcased who she was. This is being recorded. This will be shared on our YouTube channel. We used to record nothing. Now with Zoom, we're recording everything and putting it onto the YouTube channel. It's a benefit to us, but it's a benefit to our guests who are on there. So it's a win-win. The producer, Suzanne, I'd like you to unmute Patrick McGowan. He's going to be up next. I'll turn the talking stick over to him. But while we're still on Eleni, while she's pinned, and Eleni and I did an emergency event when the pandemic hit last March, and we were telling people how to do it. I don't even want to think about what we looked like on Zoom at the time. It was amateur hour. I mean, the content was great, but the look was amateur hour. Eleni, you're well lit, you're well framed. I know you have taken Patrick's workshop like I have, and we're still a work in progress. But the message we took away was amateur hour is over. So this is our new reality. So if you buy nice clothes to wear when you meet with clients, if you have a nice space to meet clients in, you get the idea that that's an investment. How you show up on Zoom is an investment in your client attraction chain reaction. So people judge consultants and service providers, the research shows, by 5 different attributes. One is the look and feel. They make a judgment about us right away, and how they handle little things in life is how you handle big things. If you're just kind of saying, well, good enough, and I'll just throw up a screen or something like that. It's like showing up with clothes you went and bought at Goodwill for the client meeting, because those were cheap. I found some really cheap clothes. Now, this suit has a knee patch, but that's just functional. Again, that's ridiculous. So, Patrick McGowan, tell us about you, your work, Punchin, your workshop. Tell us about how we need to up our video presence.
Great. Thank you, Henry. It's really great to be here this afternoon. My name is Patrick McGowan, and I am the CEO and founder of Punchin, the Better Video Now company. And I work with speakers and authors who want to level up their video presence, to have more influence and impact, as well as professionals who want to make sure that their video reflects the value of their products and services. If I can't see everybody, but if I can get gallery view for just a moment, that would be great. I'm going to ask just 2 or 3 quick questions, and I want to see a show of hands if I can. I'm going to go ahead and go to gallery view. And first question, how many of you have actually turned off your own video because it wasn't good? Because you didn't like how you appeared on video? All right, so there's about half of us who raised our hands. I gotta confess, March 2020, I have a picture of myself and I look like a potato. So this was part of my motivation for what I've done. Okay, here's another question. How many of you have turned off or turned away, stopped watching a video of someone else because it wasn't good and it wasn't engaging? There was just almost no watchability. Okay, so another little over 50% of us have either turned off the video or tuned out the video. And really what this just goes to prove is what Steve Stockman, he's a TV, film, and movie director, said, and said it really well. When it comes to video, if it's not good, it's off. And so this isn't just about our vanity, though. So let me clarify. What we're actually doing is we're using our vanity as a force for good. We're using our vanity as a force for good. Let me tell you about author and speaker Nick Biddle. He knew his video sucked. And this is a story that he told me. And he, in fact, dreaded having to go on video at the start of the pandemic. He knew it sucked because he was using a crappy laptop camera from his kitchen table, backlit with bad ambient light and almost no audio production. And he literally avoided doing video meetings, doing any type of video trainings, because like a lot of, as Eleni mentioned, she had to convert her business over to virtual and was one big toe ahead of her clients. Nick as well was in the same position, but he had gigs that he had to deliver on, and so he actually dreaded going on video. And in fact, in his own words, he told me, I was using this crappy laptop camera and I was sitting at my kitchen table and I didn't like how I looked on camera. So if you know Nick, you know he has, well, one, he's written a couple books. He had a very thriving in-person speaking and training business on the road, in the air, 80 times a year for about 3/4 of the year. And as soon as the pandemic hit, he was grounded, just like the rest of us. And he found himself at home and thrown into these Zoom meetings. And so like all of us, he was unprepared for this. So he did what we all did. We made do. And as Henry mentioned, making do is amateur hour. It's good for the first 4 to 6 months of a pandemic. but it's not a long-term strategy in our now video first world. We need a video first strategy. So when Nick and I met, what he wanted basically what you see in terms of my own video production. He wanted the digital camera setup, he wanted the video switcher, and we got him all set up. And what Nick told me at the end of all of this, he and I just met recently, and he said, here's what you did for me, Patrick. What you did is you gave me confidence. I actually want to be on camera now. I look forward to doing my virtual meetings with my clients, my virtual trainings. And he had set out in November of 2020, 6 months into the pandemic, 7 months into the pandemic, he set out to convert half of his business to virtual. He was exclusively in person. He wanted to do half virtual. And where he's at now is what the next year looks like for Nick is he's going to do about 30 in-person live events, and the rest are going to be virtual. And he is happy as a clam. I don't know if I should use that as a phrase or not, but Eleni will correct me later. But he is thrilled with this. And he said, you gave me confidence. And in fact, my clients have noticed. They see that I've upped my game. They're more engaged. I'm creating more connection virtually than I ever have. And so what Nick has seen, and this is where what I do for folks more than anything is this crossroads, 3 crossroads: technology, best practice, and confidence. When you put those 3 elements together, you're able to prepare, position, and really bring a punch to your video presence to really establish that connection and have that influence with your clients. Now, how I do this with various folks is I do this through, normally a lot of folks sign up for my Power Up workshop, which is now a 3-hour collaboration workshop format plus 90 minutes one-on-one with me, where we really dial in both your technology and best practice, as well as give you opportunity to present and connect with an audience across the lens. And so this is, that's one way. And then the other, obviously, we can go up from there where I can work with you individually, and we could set you up on the same digital camera package that I have or one similar to what Henry has, and get you established so that you are in the spotlight and can really get and then keep people's attention.
Patrick, thank you. What's the name of your upcoming book?
The name of my upcoming book is called Better Video Now, How Smart Professionals... Oh, shoot, I forgot the second half. It's Better Video Now.
You could have just stopped at Better Video Now.
Better Video Now. That's the name of my book.
I'd buy that book. I'm publishing it too. So now, if you know me, on a personal note, I'm a baseball nut. So we're going to do some little inside baseball, like inside Zoom right now. So Patrick works with you on your background. And ditch the virtual backgrounds where you move in and out and you're a ghost and your ears disappear and all that. He says, think like a broadcaster. So this is a set I'm in. I've got my Forbes magazine up and my international bestseller book up. Not a coincidence that they're in the background. I've got the world map over my one shoulder. We're Indie Books International. Not a coincidence. Patrick, I think you're like the Zen proverb, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And your life took a pivot during the pandemic, and you showed up to help so many people. And, I thank you for that. You just rocked a short talk. That was a 5-minute showcase, everybody. How did he get it? Through relationships. We're demonstrating everything we want you to do today to obtain more high-paying clients. It's all everything is a lesson that's happening today. Patrick, thank you for participating.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Great job. So Theresa, you're going to be up. I didn't give you enough warning, so I'll talk a little bit about you. So another way to pivot during these times and embrace video and other technologies is through e-courses. And one of our authors saw the opportunity in that, is working with people to get you online with an e-course. That can be a gift that keeps giving. It's not that you do this and you'll be discovered and you'll become fantastically rich. We're anti-pitch fest. So I don't want you to think that what we're doing today is some form of pitch fest. But I liked what one client said to me is like, Henry, if you're trying to get into my wallet, you do a horrible job at it. So a lot of the, we start at free in giving advice away and help. And then very low cost, all of us are, around or under the $500 mark to get you going. It's very pragmatic. And I found Dr. Theresa Ashby to be a very pragmatic and generous person. We all have different faiths, but somebody, an author, sent something to me to talk about indie books, and they quoted the book of Proverbs. It said, "The generous person will prosper, and whoever refreshes others will himself be refreshed." I think that's our business model and the business model of the people on this call. Theresa, would you like to take the talking stick for a minute?
I would love to. Thank you so much, Henry. I am Dr. Theresa Ashby with Kaleidoscope Media Services. And the fun thing is I have published a book with Indie Publishing, and it's been doing well, called Better Implementation Now. And it really talks about the importance of building the right plan to scale and grow your business. Now, over at Kaleidoscope, we love to help our speakers who want to scale their business by adding e-learning courses. It's about those people who really want to scale their business, pivot their business model, and generate more passive revenue. As a result of some of our clients working with us, we were able to help them scale their business by creating some of these digital products. And one particular one was a workshop with virtual office hours. And for them, it became super important because when they first launched it, 3 of their 10 participants actually purchased their $5,000 package. So it was a nice lead into that larger package. And, I always have to bring up what I love, and that is I love to travel. And I've been able to travel on 6 of the 7 continents. And as the world opens up, I will figure out how to get to that 7th continent. But, as we're looking at, this last year, us really staying at home and working virtually, and now that we're going to shift back into more personal events, people are questioning, does e-products, these e-courses still, are they still necessary? And the answer is yes. We see it trending this coming year and far into the future. Digital products such as e-learning courses are really about where the money is being invested from larger companies. We're seeing that it's about $3.5 billion of an industry over the next 2 years. But here's how we need to pivot when we're deciding if we're going to do an e-learning course. We know that the traditional e-course is several modules, and we build it and people listen to it. But now, if you're going to transition and go back to live events, here's how you can still continue to do some type of digital products. You can create a digital product that you send out earlier to the audience. Let them get to know, like, and trust you with some information. Give them kind of some definitions maybe that you're going to talk about in your workshop. The other thing is what we're finding is people are actually reducing a 4-day workshop that's going to go virtual to a 3-day workshop by creating some of these upfront opportunities. Even though it's 3 days and not the 4 days, people are still charging the same price, but your time is reduced. The other thing is, as you're, we talk about, we want to sell our books, right? And we always talk about the back of the room, making sure you're offering people to purchase your book. Well, that is a great place to have them purchase your book and also purchase an e-learning course that goes along with your book, and you can create a bundle. And so it creates more revenue for you. And that's really what we're seeing going into this industry and how people are going to continue to do this. I think the opportunity of our phones, it's easy, it's accessible, and make sure when you're creating your courses, they're in small little bits. So I can sit someplace and listen for 5 to 7 minutes, and I'm really getting some value for you. And so with that, I would love to do a discovery call with you. I always take that opportunity to just talk about your business plan. What's that scalability model, and how does that e-learning course fit into that overall strategy? And Henry, as you know, my new book, we're working on that. And that new book is, here it is. It's basically scaling your business by using digital products in your offerings. And I look forward to that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Theresa. So the inside baseball stuff, one, just love the idea of bundling with your book a specific e-learning course to it. And also the idea of the e-learning course complementing workshops that you do to reduce your time. For our Indie Family and Friends Forum, this is the big event where we get together in March, and Eleni and Theresa and Russell and Patrick, will be there. One of the aspects of it is I cut it down to 2 days, because that saved a third of what it was costing me to put this on. People will still get great value in 2 days. Plus it saves them money on hotels and food and per diem. So I just think this is part of the trend on how can we make it easier. Somebody called me this week and said, oh, I really want your help with publishing a book. Where could we go have coffee? I said, oh, we're not, but we can talk online, Zoom, because I thought in the old days, why was I spending an hour driving somewhere and an hour driving back? That windshield time that is wasted. So we have to see this pandemic, and I know it's affected a lot of us and relatives and family, and that's horrible. However, there's some good things from a business standpoint that are coming out of this. We've accelerated where we needed to go in business because we had to, and we're not going back to the old way. That's a message from today. Theresa, thank you so much. I mentioned YouTube and LinkedIn, but I'm going to save some of that, and networking and meetings and all this. I just wanted to go to publicity and Russell Trahan. So of my top 3 things to do, put on small scale seminars, 1, get booked as a speaker, 2, 3 is to get published. And getting published is more than a book. Getting published is getting published in all sorts of venues. I've published 14 books. 1 is an international bestseller. It pales with the readers of those books pale with the number of readers that I get from Forbes.com. So what are different ways that you can get your thoughts and your name attached out there? I know a guy who wrote a book on this subject and also helps people with it. So let's turn the talking stick over to Russell.
And I know a guy who published the book of the guy who wrote the book. So sell yourself without saying a word. Thank you, Henry. I am Russell Trahan with PR Public Relations. We are a 20-plus-year-old agency with a track record of getting 100% of our clients placed in front of their target-rich audience. We work exclusively with speakers, consultants, and nonfiction authors, particularly those that are looking for national name recognition in front of B2B decision makers. But that doesn't mean that the principles of publicity don't work, even if you're looking for another audience. Now, article writing is different than book writing. It's different than blog writing. It's different than almost any other form of writing. And the main point of article writing is to set yourself aside, set your ego aside. The article is not about you, it's about your content. So you've got to set yourself aside, and that's ASIDE, easy to remember. The A stands for audience. You've got to remember who your audience is. A lot of people think, oh, I'm gonna get, my audiences are business people, so I want to get in Forbes and Entrepreneur and Business Week. Well, those, yes, are all business magazines, but each one's a little different. I mean, Fast Company wants new, now, next. Forbes is a little more blue chip boardroom level, and Entrepreneur, well, the title speaks for itself. So remember your audience and target specifically to the readership of the magazine you're wanting to get into. Now, the S stands for send out. How many do they send out? It actually stands for circulation, but that would make it spelled incorrectly. And as a publicist, we always want to make sure it's spelled right. But it matters how many are sent out, either emailed or mailed out, because it's not so important the numbers, but to whom they're mailed out. It's as Alan Weiss always says, you know, it's more important to be in front of 500 people that can hire you than it is 500,000 that aren't your market. So, you know, the magazine that you're interested in may only have 600 circulation, but if that 600 circulation are all CEOs, that's more important than being in the Washington Post that they may not read that day. I stands for introduction. You want to introduce yourself. As Henry says, you want to build those relationships. The main thing is you don't want to sell. You want to come across as a person. You want to offer value to the readership. So be sure to give a good introduction and don't sell yourself. The D stands for X day of the week, month, year. This is the fastest, easiest, cheapest way to get publicity. Every day of the year has a day, every month has a day. Today, June 8th, happens to be National Best Friends Day. So if you're a relationship expert, you can send out a press release to your local media saying, hey, why don't you do a story on National Best Friends Day? I can offer you this. June happens to be Audio Book Appreciation Month. So if you're a publisher, you could send out a press release saying, hey, June is Audio Book Appreciation Month. How about doing a story on that? June is also Effective Communication Month. There's another opportunity for great publicity if you have any expertise in effective communication. Now, the last letter E stands for the editor. This is your gatekeeper. This is the person you've got to get through. Now, I always say that when it comes to publicity, your book may be wonderful and your mother may love you, but the media just doesn't care. What the editor does care about is what their readership thinks, what their audience thinks. So again, put yourself aside, put your ego away, and offer that editor content, valuable information, education for their readership, and that's what'll get you into the media each and every time. Thank you.
Russell, thank you so much. And Russell is very generous in his book, Sell Yourself Without Saying a Word. He gives you step-by-step instructions on how to do this. Now, he's happy to be your publicist, but he's also happy to tell you how to be your own publicist.
Certainly.
And we're so proud to have Patrick as part of the Indie Books family. He's helped many of our authors. One of members of our family, she's famous for being her own publicist and has gotten 2,000 media interviews as a result. So the strategy, how to do it, doesn't change. It's just, do you need some help doing it? Because you can only do so much. You know, we all get 168 hours a week. I love the Dilbert cartoon where the boss wanted her working 200 hours a week. And she said, but there's only 168 hours in a week. And he said, well, we expect your family to chip in some hours too. So we're all limited in the time. So the way we leverage our time is getting help. So I wanted to go to the number one thing to do and introduce Devin DeVries, our Vice President of Promotion and Production. So Devin's in charge of book production and then what happens after the book is published. Because we say publishing the book is the starting line, not the finish line. So Devin is helping people along the race, and the race is what it's about. So it's a marathon. But how do we get eyeballs on the book? How do we get people to know about our work? And the number one way that we have researched to do this is the small scale seminar. So Devin, tell them a little bit about the small scale seminar and your strategies there.
Thank you, Henry. The small scale seminar has been a total game changer for not only our business, but also our clients and authors in growing theirs. What we mean when we talk about a small scale seminar is basically what you're in right now. So it's usually a no cost or very low cost event. It's an information session. The idea is to give helpful, valuable content to your target audience in what is kind of a no pressure, no salesy experience, so that they can get a sense of who you are, what you do, your style, and see if they might want to learn a little bit more about working with you and become a client of yours. So it is very much that attraction phase that we've been talking about. And I'll just share a quick story about one of our authors to kind of show you how powerful this strategy can be. So Michael Haig is one of our authors, and he is out of the world of Hollywood. He was a script consultant, storytelling expert, really interesting guy. He's the person that, you know, Will Smith calls up when he wants advice on his next project. But Michael had come to us with his latest book, which is called Storytelling Made Easy. And this was geared at a new audience for him, which is business professionals, and how they can use the same storytelling techniques Hollywood uses in their presentations and their marketing material. But Michael had a problem that he didn't know how to get in front of this new audience. Up to this point in his career, he was mainly dealing with fiction authors, script writers. He was often brought into conferences or lectures at universities. So he never really had to market himself in this way. So we said, okay, the strategy we think is going to work best for you is to put on your own events, host a small scale seminar on this topic. Now, Michael was a little afraid to do this because, like I said, he never really had to fill his own events before, and he didn't know how to go about approaching this audience. So we taught him our strategy, which is to use LinkedIn as an outreach tool. And I don't have time to go into all the details, but if you want more specific information on how that works, we have a white paper we're happy to share with you. But basically, you can use LinkedIn to find your target audience. So you have to have an idea of who they are, and then what the topic that's going to speak to them is. And then you build your event around that. So for Michael, we went, with the storytelling for marketing professionals. And he was going to Portland on for another event. So what we had him do was just add one day to his trip. He booked a meeting room at a hotel. And we sent out an invitation to as many people as we felt fit his kind of target audience as we could. And we were able to get 19 people to sign up for his event and attend that day. And one really important part about this strategy is once you've given them all that great information and they've gotten a chance to meet you, is you have to have that one last follow-up step. So an easy next step for them to engage with you. And that's the strategy call that I believe Henry already mentioned before. For us, our version is called the book chat. It's a 30-minute strategy call. You can ask any questions you want about books and publishing, and it's a no sales zone. So for Michael, we developed his, so a story strategy call. If they wanted to run one by him and get some feedback, or if they had some specific questions, we could do that. So when he did the Portland event, he had 18 of the 19 people said, yes, I want that follow-up call. And it turns out the 19th person in the room was actually his sister-in-law. So we actually count that as 100% success rate. And within a week of his event, he got a client from one of those strategy calls that covered the cost of the entire event, plus 17 other people in his pipeline of potential clients. About a month later, he replicated the event in Nashville, Tennessee. And at that one, they didn't even wait for the strategy call. He had somebody who hired him to help them with their marketing, storytelling that day. So that's how powerful the strategy can be, because it really does give them a chance to see your style and what you do. You also show that you're generous with your time and your information. These are all things that will attract more clients to you. So for your business and your area of expertise, what is it? What is the topic that you could talk on that would attract clients to your business? And what we usually recommend is kind of start to think about what's the problem that is keeping your audience up at night, and then go from there and to build out the topic from there, because you want to grab their attention and be really helpful, and that will prove to be very successful. With that, I will send it back over to Henry.
Thank you, Devin. Devin talked about one of the best strategies we have found. So here's our best strategy for you. Have a no cost, no selling zone strategy call you offer all prospects. And you should help them with 4 things. 1, to get clear on their goals. 2, to know about what assets and hidden assets they might have. 3, to help them understand the roadblocks that are ahead. And then help them to understand how others have gotten from where they are to where they want to go. That's the same thing Devin will do for you. If you book a call with her, she'll take you through those things. No cost, no selling, no kidding. She'll be very helpful with you. We've been surprised. People sometimes stop us during the middle of these calls and say, I can't believe you're being this helpful. But that's the secret sauce, and with the one that all the people on this call use, and we want you to use too, to be helpful, is the best strategy. It's not to be high pressure or to use techniques to get people in. You probably thought that there was going to be some offer today, even though we said there wasn't. Like, today and today only, we have a special 6-week coaching package or a DVD set or something like that. No, you are smart enough to know if it would be in your best interest to have a conversation with us and go from there. It's the same thing for your prospects. They are smart enough to know if it's in their best interest to have a conversation with you. And also, when you do a call like this, you might get these calls that could lead to more things, or people know about you and your work and they can refer people your way. So there's all great things that can happen with a small scale seminar. And That was the meta lesson from today, that we want you to do this same thing. Now, there's a lot of things to work on, and there always will be. It's a marathon. That's what we're doing. Nobody's ever going to be discovered. What we do every day matters. And as the chairman of Indie Books says, and I quote him, are you willing to trade your day for your dreams? Because the alternative is we're just trading our days for survival. And I don't want that for you. I want you to get your dreams. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for our panelists. Thank you all for attending. Again, if you want white papers or if you want book chats, please contact Devin. And we wish you the best marketing with a book and a speech. So I wish you the best to use that to create your client attraction chain reaction. Thanks, everybody.